Hi and welcome. It's new release day at Kitchen Sink Stamp. And I have two cards, this one with the rubber duck and then this second one with the candles. Let's get started. The first stamp of this new release is called Just Ducky. It comes with a 4-step rubber ducky, 3-step beak, and 3 large sentiments as well as several mini sentiments. The large sentiments say birthday, ducky, and love. When you receive your kitchen sink stamps, you will receive this color ID film. What I suggest that you do is place your stamps on this color ID film. You need to flip the color ID film sheet over. Do not place the stamps on the front of the color ID film, but on the back. If you place them on the front, the color can transfer onto the photopolymer stamps, and the color will stick to your photopolymer stamps. In addition, this stamp set features 2 eyeballs, one with and one without eyelashes. When you receive your stamps, it will include a stamp alignment guide. Now mine is large because I printed it from my computer, full size 8.5 by 11. You can download these on the Kitchen Sink Stamps website, but you'll get a small version inside your stamp set. What I've done is created these SVG files. Kitchen Sink Stamps offers free SVG files with every stamp that they sell. You have to place the SVG into your cart and make sure that it's in there when you check out in order to receive it for free. Why are they so special? Well, I found that if you're going to create a card where you would like your main character or sentiments not to be stamped directly onto the card, the SVG files are just like a die cut, but they're electronic. So they would be for use in your Cricut. I use mine on my Scan and Cut and other electronic machines. I'm going to go ahead and start with stamping. I am stamping the layer number 1 with Limoncello ink from Catherine Pooler. Now, I'm stamping 2 rubber duckies, and by having this jig, which is basically the cutout from where I cut my SVG files, it helps keep everything in line straight. Now that I have the base layer of my ducky, I'm going to grab number 5, which is the first step of the beak. It is actually the lightest layer of the beak. I am also stamping that in limoncello. You don't have to do it this way. You could stamp all 4 layers of your ducky and then stamp your beak, but I found this was the easiest way for me just to keep everything lined correctly, because the beak is just a little bit tricky. This helped me, number 1, because it's the same color as the layer that I just stamped, so it basically matches 100%, and that helps me just to make sure that everything is going to line up correctly in my next steps. I'm going to keep going with the beak, and I'm going to stamp layer number 6, which is the actual second layer of the beak. And the color I'm going to use is Tiara. Again, you can stamp your stamps in reverse order, starting with the darkest to the lightest, or in regular order, which is lightest to the darkest. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. And it also depends on the stamp set. But for this one, it all worked out really well in the end, and I think the rubber ducky turned out great. And his beak looks good too. Okay, now we're going to go in with that final layer of the beak, which is number 7, and we're going to use Tiki Torch. I'm just getting the beak lined up here. Catherine Pooler Tiki Torch ink, and it creates a really nice looking beak. Now that I have the beak stamped, I can go ahead and stamp the rest of the duck's body. So I'm going to be using layer number 2, and I'm going to be using chiffon ink from Catherine Pooler. This layer creates a little bit more detail where the duck feathers would be. Okay, moving on to layer number 3, which has even more detail. We will go ahead and use Tiara, Catherine Pooler ink. And that creates a great shadow. Did you see that? That's amazing. Kitchen sink stamps are so cool because they create such dimension and depth, and they create images that look lifelike. This release with kitchen sink stamps is now available. I will have it linked below in my description box. Not only are there 2 new stamp sets, but there's also a new stencil, several Digi Backgrounds, which I'll show you a set of those. So a lot of really cool things that are available. Now I'm stamping the final layer of the duck. This is layer number 4, which is basically lining up with the eyeball. And the color of ink that I'm going to use is Catching Rays. Again, this creates another fabulous shadow accent, which accentuates the shape of the duck, giving it a 3D look. It looks like a photograph. I think my little rubber ducky is super cute. Now let's put some eyeballs on him. And for this, I'm going to grab my stamp alignment guide, because you certainly don't want the eyeballs facing in the wrong direction. So there is a way to line these up. I'm going to be using some black ink from Hero Arts, and it's clear when you line them up because you're lining up the eyeball that is in the first couple of layers that you stamped. It's just amazing how well these line up and how realistic and lifelike they become. Okay, so I've got my first eyeball down. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the other one in. So I do move my stamp positioning tool around a little bit just so I can get a closer look and basically have my head over top of the stamped image so that I can get the proper alignment. And see, I wasn't tilting it exactly right. And if I check my stamp alignment guide again, which I did, I know that there's just a slight angle to where you want to place that eyeball, and it just nests kind of in the area of the last stamp that we did, which was accentuating sort of the feathers. It just lines up that way. So now I'm going to go ahead and re-ink the one that I did previously because the ink did not look dark enough. Once I saw how cool the dark eyeball looks on the one above it, I was like, oh man, I gotta fix that one below. So now I've got 2 adorable rubber duckies with cute little black eyeballs, and I'm gonna stamp for you the eyeball with the eyelash. It looks really, really cute. And I'm sure I'll make more rubber duckies in the future and experiment with the feminine looking eyelash. The SVG files create an outline for the sentiments. So I've got 3 of the sentiments here. Ducky, birthday, love, those are the large sentiments. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp them with Something Borrowed ink from Catherine Pooler, which is a nice blue ink. What I love about these SVG files is just like having a shadow die cut. But you don't have to pay for an extra die. You don't have to worry about a bunch of dies taking up space in your craft room. Everything is sent electronically. When you put that SVG file in your cart, it's free. If you forget to put it in your cart and you go to purchase it later, it's 99 cents. Just make sure you download that from your email when you get it, because it's only valid in your email for like 30 days. And then you don't have that ability to download it. Now, I'm going to be creating a duck on a pond, and it's going to be a slider card. So I grabbed a previously released stamp. This is called Isle of Big Bay Lake. Okay, I'm stamping layer 1 with Something Borrowed. This creates some super realistic water. My ducky is going to be resting on the water. It's going to be a slider card. So, okay, so a while ago, probably about 6 years ago, there was a large oversized rubber duck on the waters in Pittsburgh. Now, I live near Pittsburgh in southwestern Pennsylvania. And about 5 or 6 years ago, there was this art exhibit with this gigantic rubber, looked like a rubber duck, stationed in Pittsburgh as part of an art exhibit. It was huge. It was like the size of a house. I don't know if any of you had that in any of the cities that you live in. Please leave a comment below if you remember what I'm talking about. So I'm grabbing layer 2 of the Isle of Big Bay Lake, and I'm going to be stamping it with Aquatini ink from Catherine Pooler. And by the way, this looks great even just with one layer, but the second layer just makes it look even more realistic. Okay, so just to summarize, so far I've used Isle of Big Bay Lake to create my water. I have just Ducky for my cute yellow rubber duck. I have a die for my stash to create the slider, and I'm also going to be bringing in the stamp set called Bubbles All Around. Bubbles All Around features 2 clusters of bubbles, a large and a small. Each cluster is a 2-step stamp. I'm going to go ahead and add some bubbles to the background before I put together the slider card. I'm just going to show you a little bit of how that action slider die cuts out that space. Now I have the Bubbles All Around stamp set. I'm going to grab some Catherine Pooler ink. I grabbed 2 different colors. It's a 2-step stamp. I have Stone Blue. That's my darkest color. And I'm just placing these in the top left-hand corner. I'm going to try to leave a little bit of space in the middle for my sentiment. And then the second layer, I'm going to use Cummerbund. You can see how easily those lined up. I don't need a stamp positioning tool. What's nice about this layer, it looks like a watercolor effect. It's super cool with those bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the smaller bubbles as well. This time I'll start with the Cummerbund, which is the lighter color. And then I'll add Stone Blue on top of that. So I inked them in reverse order and then in regular order. Now we're going to work on the penny slider. I put adhesive tape, which is a double-sided, first on my penny, then a foam square on each penny. Remove the adhesive from the foam square. Then I press those pennies together, making a penny sandwich. And then we have a nice thick wheel, basically, and it's going to fit inside the slit. There's plenty of room for that penny to go back and forth on that track. And once I get that, I will add the rubber ducky on top. First I have, yes, that's what I'm going to do next. I was like, wait a minute, is that my next step? Yeah. There's my rubber duckies. They're both so cute. And there you go. Back and forth, back and forth. I'll remove this tape off camera. Takes me forever to get that tape, foam tape adhesive off. So then I just placed the panel on top of the other panel, and now I have the ability to put my sentiments in. I am using Ducky Birthday, so I'm going to grab the mini sentiment that says Have A. I'll stamp that with some black ink, and that card is ready to go. Because it's already on a card panel base. Once I put my mini sentiment on and my 2 regular sentiments, I do put all those on with foam tape as well, just to keep adding some nice dimension onto this card, which I think turned out really nice. Now let's move on to card number 2, which uses the stamp set Candle Wishes. This one has several large sentiments: wishes, light, wish, shine, and candles. It's got several mini sentiments. It has 3 candles that layer to create one realistic candle, and then 3 flames that create one realistic flame. Again, I used the SVG cut files, and I also used the Digi Backgrounds, the foil backgrounds, and I'm going to show you that at the end of this video. That's why this video is extra long, because I am showing you my complete process from start to finish for each card, which includes some foiling on the second card. But here are the new Digi Backgrounds, the cupcakes. This one says happy birthday to you. Then we have some confetti, which is super cute. And then we have the candles, which match the candles in the Candle Wishes set. Some beautiful foil backgrounds that you can create. You just print that out with your laser printer, and then you will be able to foil it in your Minc machine or your laminator. Again, I've got my stamp alignment guide and my ID film. So I am transferring my stamps onto the ID film. Remember, you want to transfer the stamps onto the back side, not the front side of the ID film, because the color will stick to the stamps if you do it on the front side. Okay, so once I have this done, I'm going to grab the SVG cut file template or jig and load it into my stamp positioning tool. I lost a little camera footage with that first candle, but I will tell you the colors that I used were from lightest to dark, It's a Girl, Be Mine, and Samba. And that's how I got that first pink candle. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp the flame, and the colors that I'm using are Limoncello, Tiara, and Tiki Torch. And those are the colors that I use for all of my flames. The lightest color is Limoncello, the mid color is Tiara, and the darkest color is Tiki Torch. Here's a close-up of that pink candle. How realistic that looks. So cool. So let's go ahead and stamp out another color candle. I'm going to start with a flame this time, and then do the candlestick afterwards. I'm starting with the light color, Limoncello. And then I'm going to use Tiara. And then the final will be Tiki Torch. And I did speed this up just in the interest of time because it's a pretty long video. But I thought it was important to be able to show all of the steps and to demonstrate each new stamp set thoroughly. So I'm going to go ahead and place the candle number 3A. And my first color that I'm using is Grape Crush. Then for candle 2A, I use Flirty Fuchsia. Then for candle 1A, I use Serenade. So dark, medium to light. Dark Grape Crush, medium Flirty Fuchsia, and light Serenade. I just love the way this candle turned out. A pretty purple candle. This is my Serenade, the last color that I use. And then we'll do one more candle. We're going to use blue colors for the last candle. And for the blue candle, my darkest layer, I use Suede Shoes. My mid layer is All That Jazz Stamped Off. So I stamped it onto a piece of paper before I stamped it onto the candle, just so it wouldn't be so intense. That's what I'm doing right here. I've got All That Jazz. I grab a slip of paper. Sometimes that helps to create like another color of ink that you might not have. And then the final color that I use is Cummerbund for that top layer. And I really like how this candle turned out as well. Now we're going to take a look at the Digi Backgrounds that were created with this brand new release. And here's a close-up look at all 3 candles. This new release has some really cute Digi Backgrounds, and I'm going to trim them down to make 4 by 5 1/4 panels. And this one is the birthday candles, and I did that with all of the digis. That way they're ready to go through my Minc. So I have the mini Minc, and my paper is red with sparkles in it. And the rest of the paper I'm going to use is this rainbow stripe paper. And I'm using my dusty brush just to take off any dust that might be on my fingers that are touching the panel and touching the foil. We want there to be very little dust. No dust would be great, but we know that's not possible. So here we have the happy birthday panel. It is stunning. And then the one that looks like the little candles that are from our set. And then finally, oh, that looks really cool. The one with the confetti, I really like it. And then the cupcakes that are done in rainbow, they're so sweet. There's the candles done in rainbow. Now we will assemble the candle wishes card. I have a piece of blue card that I'm using as my card base. I am popping up my sentiment, and the sentiment that I used is sending love and birthday wishes. And then I have the 3 candles at the bottom, and everything is popped up using foam tape. So as I wrap up the video, I just want to say thanks so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button so that you can see other videos that I post out there. Make sure you ring the bell so that you're notified of when those videos go up. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this new release from Kitchen Sink Stamps. I'll have all the products that I use down in the description box below for your convenience. Here are some still shots of the cards that I made. First, the card that I made using the new Candle Wishes stamp set. And I used those cupcakes as my foiled background. And here's the card that I created with just Ducky. And this is a slider card. Thanks so much for watching. Have a hopeful day. Bye.